Well, it is week 3 of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Alienware. And I'm joined by Licorice right now, who's rolling chairs around all over the place. I don't know why. But he just played a game as Wukong, and now he gets to do just a circuit of interviews about having played Wukong. So, first off, had you known, I don't know how much you guys ever watched the broadcast, but did you know that the analyst desk was like, why won't anybody play Wukong? And Mark was always going on and on about it.
I didn't actually know that it was a thing for the broadcast, but for me personally, I'm like watching the LCS. I'm a bit disappointed with the number of Aatrox picks specifically because I think the champion's just bad and people are just playing it because it's like a comfort pick still.
So, and that's why, or so you feel that way about Aatrox, but I guess you also felt like maybe Wukong should be seeing more play.
Yeah, I mean Wukong is one of the champions that I think like should replace it in like your team comp. It's like an AD team fighting, can be played weak side, kind of like bruiser top. So it fits into like pretty much any team comp, and I think it's just the better champion right now.
Why do you think it is that nobody is playing it? Because that's, I think, been a big question that nobody's been able to answer, right? Is like we're just not seeing it picked and people don't really know why.
The one legitimate reason, in my opinion, is that since the release of Volibear is actually pretty strong into Wukong in lane. So that's a matchup that I don't really want to play. But outside of that, I think there's a lot of matchups that like people think are like counters to Wukong, but if you look at the other regions, people just pick Wukong anyways, and I'm kind of more on that line of thought.
Okay. So you don't think that there's no world in which like North America just has a different play style, or like we just are, because we have a way higher presence of X top laner, that just makes Wukong unviable.
No, I think NA is just behind as a region in the top lane meta specifically.
What about in all metas specifically?
I think in most lanes, like the picks are pretty similar as to those you'd see internationally. I think it's really just top lane right now that's like really lagging behind.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does that make it difficult for you at all then because maybe you want to play these types of matchups or these types of lanes that we see in other regions because you know that it's strong, but it's difficult to get that to happen whenever other people aren't interested in playing those picks?
Yeah, it's actually been a bit hard for me to prepare for matches because I'm preparing for a different meta than the meta I'm playing, and actually all 6 games so far, I've ended up playing a different matchup than I thought I was going to play, like based on our draft in the morning. So that's been a bit frustrating for me because I also think that I just like have more picks than other people in general, and I just haven't been able to pick a lot of them. So it was really nice to be able to play Wukong today.
Okay. Does that imply that there are other interesting Licorice picks that we haven't seen yet?
Well, I mean, the way the meta is going to go is like as soon as people start picking Wukong, then you're going to see like Wukong counters, and I think like I will do well against Wukong, and I think a lot of people won't. So like that's something I want to see more. And then I don't know, I always like want to have like these pocket picks that I can pull out because I just like I really enjoy it, and I think it gives you an edge when you know that the other person hasn't prepared for it at all.
Yeah. Hey, I get that Immortals is maybe not the strongest team, and you guys are undoubtedly the strongest team, but is it weird, or does it catch you off guard at all whenever suddenly you find out that you're playing a completely different lineup of players than the ones that you were expecting to play against? Or I don't know how specifically you guys prepare for like distinct teams versus just being ready for kind of anything.
Most of our specific preparation happens like right before the game, like a couple days before we'll start thinking about it and start looking at like what they play, and then the night before we'll be like, okay, like we'll just like have a draft meeting and we'll talk about like what they play. And actually almost all of our preparation for this game was based on the Cloud9 Academy versus Immortal Academy game that was just played because that was their last red side game. So we were like, oh, they're probably just gonna ban this, and this is what our academy team did, and our academy team did really well. So, like, I don't think we'll have a ton of issues.
So you just took inspiration from the academy team. Did you talk to any of those players?
We didn't talk to them too much. Like even our academy team plays different picks than us. Fudge, the top laner, still plays Aatrox, so he's a bit of a sinner in that regard.
Okay. Do you give him shit for that?
Yeah, I do. I was telling him about Volibear like when it was first released, and I was like, Volibear's so broken. And then like a couple weeks later, everyone started playing it, and it might have gotten buffed in the middle, but that doesn't really matter.
Okay, that doesn't really matter. You knew maybe just mentally that it was going to happen. Okay, so with the sort of teams that are beneath you guys, It is difficult. I think a lot of people are saying, like, is EG the second best? Is FlyQuest the second best? TL? I mean, TSM just went 2-0. Do you have any idea on, like, if you had to place the other teams beneath you, would you have any kind of ranking for them or expectations on where you think these guys are at?
For me, I have to say that our biggest opponent is probably Team Liquid. I think like part of that is historical. Like since I've been on C9, like they have been the team that's beaten us the most, like in finals or quarterfinals in my first split or just in the regular season. So I'm always looking at them as being our biggest rival. And below that, I think there's like an upper team soup and like a lower team soup, to steal some broadcast terms
Yeah.
from before. Yeah. So I don't know. I can't really place teams too accurately, but I am looking at Team Liquid as being our biggest competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because, like, TL, EG, and FlyQuest all have these kind of interesting things about them where, like, EG is like this newer team with, really strong players. People are starting to say Kumo is maybe top 3 now after being pretty derided, I feel like, in spring split. And then you have TL, who's like, people don't really know if they're going to be able to recover correctly and how much they're going to be able to catch up from the stuff that they had before. And FlyQuest, I feel like everybody writes off. So it's kind of an interesting situation. I'm always kind of curious where the other players are placing these different teams. So,
Right.
what do you think of Kumo? Speaking of EG,
Kumo's been playing a lot better. I would hesitate to call him a top 3 top laner until I see more games out of him and on more champions, because I think like one of his biggest criticisms has always been his like limited champion pool. So like I want to see more games out of Kumo. I think he's improved a lot and he's worked really hard, so I think he deserves credit for that. But I just don't know if he's like top 3 yet.
gotcha. I think I was repeating something Mark told me, so I'm going to blame him for that if people disagree with the top 3 take. But I'm also kind of curious. You mentioned you feel like you have a pretty big champion pool. I think you were saying you feel like you can play more than most other top laners in the league, right? Are there any other laners that you think right now, sorry, top laners that you think have, a pretty diverse champion pool, or you look at them and you're like, oh, that guy can pull out anything against me?
No, not really. And I think that's part of why like this was the first Wukong game in like week 3, where like everyone, I think Aatrox is probably like the biggest, most picked top laner, followed by like Ornn. So it's
Yeah,
like a total repeat of last season when the picks should be different, in my opinion.
yeah, gotcha. Well, it's interesting to see where we are in spring. I know it's only week 3, but hopefully we'll start to see, or sorry, it's summer. We'll start to see more things over the next couple of weeks. But is there anything you want to say, Licorice, to any of the fans out there?
I would say that I don't know, like we've been doing really well, and having the support, even though we're playing from home, is really great. And speaking of support, you won't find better support than you'll get from a Secret Labs chair
Okay,
just like
nice.
this. Yeah.
What is this? Was this a request that was made of you going into this, or you just wanted to plug it?
No, I just wanted to plug it.
Okay,
They're good chairs.
nice. Well,
Yeah.
that's very authentic. Thank you so much, Licorice, for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Welcome to the Secret Book Club part of the interview, where we discuss books.
Nice.
You
You
have,
have like a different background.
yeah, you'll have to have stayed. I don't have a different background. I guess I could come up with. Hang on, while we're talking about books, I'll see if I can come up with a different background. But how's your book reading been going? Because you were going. What last time we talked, you were going through Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I finished Lord of the Rings. I enjoyed it. I'm probably gonna watch the movie soon and see like, I don't know. That's something I kind of enjoy because I think the movies are actually like really good compared to the books, which
Yeah.
doesn't usually happen. And I think I'm gonna enjoy watching them. I ordered 2 new books.
Wait, did you say you hadn't read? You're gonna rewatch them, right?
Rewatch the movies.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen them probably like 4 or 5 times at this point. But yeah, I ordered 2 new books. Ocean at the End of the Lane and Neuromancer, and I don't know if you've heard of either of them.
I know I've not read Neuromancer, but I mean it's a classic. So I'm not surprised by that. But like, what is the other book? Ocean at the End of the
Ocean at
Lane.
the End of the Lane. So it's by Neil Gaiman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was recommended the Graveyard book by a friend, and I like really loved it. And I think like it would have been great if I could have read it as a kid. Unfortunately, I didn't, but I still really loved it. So
Okay,
yeah.
I've noticed that you have not read the books that I have told you to read.
I have not. It's hard to read new books. Okay, should we start the interview before we get like too much into this, or
No,
are
no,
we
no,
are we
it's
just
fine.
going the whole time?
We're going right now.
Okay, we're
We've
just going.
been
Okay,
recording. Yes.
okay. Um, so I'm like, when I read like a new book during the season, it's part of the reason why I don't play like a lot of other games during the season as well. Where like when I read a new book and I really like it, I'll get like super into the book and I'll stay up all night reading it. And then that's like obviously not very good for my scrims the next day. So when it's not like an off day or like really early in the week, I try to just avoid new books and I only try to reread like books that I really like. And that's
Okay.
actually something
Because
that I really
you'll
like
just
doing.
lose too much time. You'll stay up too late reading it.
Yeah, I just I like it's some I
No,
just
I mean
like
it's
reading
not that crazy. It's just it's interesting to me that like you're like I gotta reread another book where I already know what's gonna happen so that I don't end up like staying up too late.
Yeah, because it's it's suspenseful. Like if it's a good book, you get into it, you want to know what happens next, and then all of a sudden it's 4 in the morning, and you're not going to do very well in scrims the next day.
It's an interesting prediction. So you only will start new stuff. Well, but you just got these two new books, or you're getting them right, so you won't be able to start them.
No, I'm gonna start one of them tonight. I haven't decided which,
Okay.
because tomorrow's an off day, right? So like
Yes.
if I stay up too late, it's like not a big deal,
But so it's only like the first night that you read them.
No, usually it happens. Usually, I don't know. Like this is like kind of a new like rule I've made for myself because usually what happens is I like start the book and like usually like the introduction isn't the best part,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like okay with that and I like read a little bit further. And then I can like stop and I like have no problems. But usually like when I get towards the middle or like towards the climax of the book, then I just like struggle to prioritize sleep over finishing the book.
Okay. Yeah, so that I can understand. I actually because that's why I think starting a book normally for me, it's like I'll take, 3 weeks or something to read the first half of the book and then I'll finish the rest of the book in like 2 days because it's just you get to like the really exciting part, you get super invested and then you just like tear straight into it. So that's always been I feel like that's the more dangerous part is like starting a book is pretty safe. It's when you get like pretty far into it that you like lose time and everything just becomes about reading the book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm like a pretty fast reader. I always
Yes.
have been, like growing up, and so I read the last book I read was A Wrinkle in Time,
Okay.
and that
And
was
you
like
are just
popular.
like reading the classics. Like these are all books that I read growing up, which I'm not just, I don't want to take anything from you. I did Lord of the Rings again a while ago, but it's funny that you're bringing up so many of these.
Yeah, I mean, they're classics for a reason, right?
Yes.
But so I like read the first two chapters. Like it's obviously not a very long book. I read the first two chapters one night, and then I like put it down, went to sleep, and then like the next night I like started reading it. And I was like, I'm just gonna read two chapters, and then I finished the book. So
Holy crap. Wait, how long did it take you? How late
um,
did you stay up that night?
it wasn't super late. I think I finished it like the after the first two chapters. I think I finished the rest within like 3 hours. So it wasn't
Okay.
like too terrible for sleep, but like it's something that I don't really want to let myself do as a pro player.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that you're able to. I'm surprised it's only like a 4-hour book, presumably.
Mm.
I guess maybe you're a fast reader, or maybe I just don't remember that book as well as I because I thought it was a little bit longer. I mean, it's a series, right?
Yeah, it is a series. I am probably, I don't know. I thought it did really good as a standalone book. I don't
Yeah,
know if I'm too interested in reading the sequels, and I haven't heard like amazing things about them, but maybe
gotcha.
at some point I'll like circle back to it.
Okay. Did you ever do Golden Compass?
I did. I did
Okay.
Golden Compass last year, actually.
You know that they have like a new like I don't know 20 years later or something. He's doing another trilogy from it.
Oh, like in the same universe,
Yeah.
but new characters kind of
I
thing.
think no, I think it's like Lyra is an adult
Oh,
in it. I
okay.
think
That
maybe it's
sounds
a couple years
interesting.
old. Yeah.
Yeah, is that out or is that coming
Yeah, I
out?
think maybe the first one or first two are out. Golden Compass sequel. So yeah, that exists. Um, I think it's just
Cool.
bringing up the sequel to like, it's just bringing up the second book instead of the next one. But anyway, and then I haven't watched the series that's based around that because I know they did like a television show for it in 2019. I think on
I have also
HBO.
not.
So you got to read Brandon.
I saw the movie a long time ago, and that was a movie. Uh, so I'm kind of a little wary of
Yeah, I haven't
the
heard
TV
good things
show.
about that.
Yeah.
Book of Dust trilogy is the name of the new one.
Okay.
And it said, okay, the trilogy will revisit the heroine Lyra and trace her life from birth to adulthood. There will also be a new hero. It was released 17 years since like the first one, so that's an option. But you gotta read Brandon Sanderson. Do you read on the Kindle?
No, I like paper books. I'm a bit old school that way.
One of those. I bought a bunch of copies of The Way of Kings. Actually, I gave one to Portillo Mateus because he messaged me and said he wanted, or he was jealous about it. So then I bought him one. But it's on sale right now for $2.99 for Kindle.
Okay.
But you do paperback, and that's $8. You got to go digital.
Well, I just like having a real book, and I always hear that you're not supposed to use screens too late either. So it's like a nice.
Yeah,
It's
but
like a nice thing
I
I
thought
can
you can
do.
use like if you have like what Flux or whatever the equivalent is of it, like it's not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
bad.
I know the Kindle has like a dim mode, but
Yeah.
I just like paper books.
Okay, that's fair.
That's just how I go. Have you read the Abhorsen trilogy by
Yes.
Garth Nix? You
Yes.
have. Okay.
I read that growing up, and then I read it again recently, and he did
He
a
did
what?
a fourth. I think
Yes.
there's five total now. I think he made one like actual direct sequel to Abhorsen.
Yeah. So he did Golden Hand.
Yeah, Golden Hand is the direct sequel, and then he did Clariel, which is like the prequel.
But
Um,
Clario came out in 2005.
yeah,
Golden Hand came out in 2016. So yeah, there's five of them,
yeah.
and I had read both of those. Do you know if he's doing a sixth?
No, I have no idea. I didn't read Golden Hand though. Is it good?
Uh, I liked it, and it's like because it's still young adult. It's like an easy read,
Mhm.
but uh, yeah, you should read it. I don't want to give any spoilers. Like it's too hard to sort of comment on what it is without providing the context.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you though. I like read them as a kid, and I like reread them a couple months ago now, and I like really like I
How do you
really
not
loved them as a
just
kid.
do like a
Really
whole
enjoyed.
series? Like you haven't done Golden Hand. You reread it, but then you're like, okay, I'm done with the series, and you switch to something else.
Well, yeah, but it's like I mean, it's not really part of the series. It's like a sequel that was released like how much later? Like 15 years or something. So like you can I feel like I have grounds to not check out the sequel, but now that I have
But
your
if you
recommendation,
enjoy them
I'll give
while
it a look.
okay, if you enjoy the universe while you're in it, why not continue to stay in it?
Well, I don't know. I just think that usually with sequels like that, or I don't want to say usually, but I think that it happens a lot where the sequel just like isn't the same or like doesn't feel as good as the other books, but
Yeah.
it's probably worth a read, and I think I would have gotten to it eventually.
Did you ever read Seventh Tower?
I have like I don't know.
It's the other. It's also
I
Garth
have seen the
Nix.
books. I have read the first two at least. I might have read them all, but I really just don't remember them.
Yeah, I barely remember them, but it is like it's like junior high level. And I
Yeah.
read it in high school because my girlfriend at the time was like really into it, and I remember them fondly. I don't know if I would go back and read them again, but I kind of want to. It's like I think Garth Nix does a really cool job of creating like worlds and magic systems, and I'm like a sucker for magic systems. That's why I like Brandon Sanderson stuff so much, is because all of his stuff is like magic systems. It
Did
reminds
you
me of
like
video games where there's like like that's one of the
like a talent
criticisms.
tree and a skill tree, and it all makes
Yeah,
sense?
that's one of the reasons I have a criticism, or not a criticism. That's one of the reasons why, like, as much as I like Lord of the Rings, I really appreciate that they ground. I don't know if I said this to you before, but like Gandalf, like what magic can Gandalf do?
A lot.
It,
Gandalf can do a lot of magic.
but like, what? Yeah, and like, what specific types of magic can he do? You know, it's like, and what allows him to do it, and how much of it can he do? You know, like in the movies, I remember he fights off
The Balrog.
no, well, I know he does that, but who's the Witch King?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
in the extended edition.
yeah, yes. But like, why can he do that and not like I think again I forget, it's easier sometimes to remember the movies than the books because you can just visualize it. But in a lot of the books, or sorry, in a lot of the movie scenes, he's fighting people like just using his staff like he's a monk or something, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's just it's really strange because you're like, okay, why can't he use magic here, but in like other scenes he can do a bunch of crazy shit. And whereas like modern fantasy for the most part have predefined like systems of magic, wherein like, okay, this character can do this much magic for using like this resource, and like these are their defined systems of like what they can do. It's like, you know, in WoW where you're like, okay, priests can heal or do damage, and they use mana to do it, and like mages can do this type of thing. And like, not that I need every book to feel like a video game. It's just like it allows you to better anticipate like and enjoy a character trying to figure out how to deal with a challenge because you know what's in their toolkit. It
And you
can't just be
feel like
like,
you could like figure it out with them instead
yeah,
of like Gandalf just coming in throwing
yeah.
a fireball. Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's a big ravine. Can Gandalf create a light bridge to pass it? I guess not, because he didn't. But then, like later on, you know, maybe he'd suddenly like blasts open a magic door that, you know, it's like, okay, so I guess he could do that. You know, it's, and I get that some of the fun is just in like learning what these characters can do. But I don't know. I just, and then I think in the Brandon Sanderson stuff, you have situations where you get to learn how these magic systems like clash against each other. It's like, and so it becomes kind of fun. It's like, you know, the Marvel movies are another good example of that, where like, cool, like Hulk is like big and strong and can do all this stuff, and Iron Man has these other abilities, and like sometimes they team up, and so you can not that I'm like super into comic stuff, but I enjoy that you have kind of an idea of what.
Like what everyone brings to the
Yeah.
table, basically. Yeah. No, I really loved the magic system in Mistborn. Actually,
Yes.
I thought that was like really incredible when I read the books.
And like that's what all of his books are, right? Like there's magic systems where you have like specific symbols, and there's magic systems wherein you have like a certain set of abilities because you are this type of warrior, I guess. I don't know how to best describe it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question for you then. Did
Okay.
you like Aragon?
I did not read
Because
it.
the
So
book isn't that great, but I thought the magic system was really well done.
okay, I'm biased against a couple things because again, like a long time ago, girlfriend was an English major and like creative writer, and she just really incepted a bunch of thoughts. Like Wheel of Time, I don't ever want to read because I have just heard that it's like really long and really boring in a lot of places, and has some like pretty. And I've been afraid to say this before because I know how many people like Wheel of Time, but like I'm just, you know, and I know Brandon Sanderson even went and finished that series after the author passed away, but I don't know. And Aragorn is another one of those examples where I'm like, I've just heard too many not great things about it.
Yeah. I mean, I read it as a kid, so I liked it. Like I don't think I was looking for
Right.
really like high class writing or anything, but I thought it was a fun story. The magic system was like really good. It was like really well explained, and I mean, eventually in like the fourth book, I think they like power creep the shit out of it,
Yeah.
which kind of takes some of the fun out of it. But like it was, I thought it was like well thought out, in my opinion.
Did you ever read the Artemis Fowl series?
I did.
As a
I
kid,
loved Artemis Fowl.
I really liked Artemis Fowl. I thought that was really good. I've heard that because they now have a Disney Plus series on it, and I've heard that it's not particularly good. But which is too bad because I think it's really cool. I wonder. It does seem like a lot of those types of books struggle as much as video games and being made into like films or series or whatever. So I don't know. All right, that's it for book club with Licorice and Travis. I want to do more of this stuff. You should read. Actually, you should read Stormlight Archive before book 4 comes out, because me and Mark and Shocks have, or Mark Shocks and I have all read it, and I kind of want to create like a stream or like a video where we all talk about it before the fourth book comes out. So.
Oh, before the new one comes out, we can talk about what we like expect and what we think. That sounds fun. Yeah,
yes.
I would be game for that. Do you know when
it's coming out in October or November, I think. So I mean, you should read it throughout summer split, and then when, like, right before Worlds or something, if you have time, maybe we can do it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I will order the books so I can read them.
Way of Kings, do it. All right. That's been Book Club. Thanks everyone for watching and for finding out why this video, which seemed to finish at the 8-minute mark, is actually 25 minutes long. I know I sometimes get zany with these outros, but I just want to make this one short and easy. Alienware has provided me with hardware that has allowed me to create really cool content during this quarantine, even before the quarantine, but I mean, I wouldn't be able to do the stuff that I do from home if it wasn't for their assistance. So please go check them out. Alienware.com/Travis. Travis 10 off Q2. I'm going to leave that in there. All right. You're going to see what it's like behind the scenes here so that you know this is an authentic message. Travis 10 off Q2 is the code. Save 10% at checkout. And there's a link in the video description. Thanks so much to Alienware for making this whole thing happen.